So, a few things you should know before I get started. It was winter and I lived in a pretty terrible neighborhood. My mom always warned me about stranger danger and what to do in uncomfortable situations. Also, I lived near a church that had a parking lot that looped around so you could enter on the right side, go around the church, and then come out on the left side. And yeah, that's all, so let's begin. So, around my middle school year, I would go to my friends every morning and then we would take the bus to school. It was around 6:20 a.m. when I left my house and started making my way to my friend's house. I put my earbuds in and started to play music. I drowned out every noise around me except one, the low rumble of a car engine. I brushed it off, I don't know why, but every few seconds I'd hear the rumble of the engine as if someone was constantly hitting the gas at the same speed as me. A weird feeling of dread washed over me like an ocean wave as I turned to see a car a few feet behind me. I was walking on the left side of the road, so this car was actually driving on the wrong side of the road. I tried to see who was driving the car, but the windows were tinted. The car was a 1984 Dodge Caravan, or at least it looked like it. So as I was looking at the car, it suddenly stopped, and so did I. So the car door swung open, and that's when I bolted up the street towards the church. Unfortunately, I didn't get a good look at his face, so whoever was driving got back in his car and zoomed towards me. They went into the church parking lot, and I took my chance and ran away from the car and back to my house. The car looped around and sped up. I heard it behind me. It was so close. I thought whoever was in there was gonna get me. My chest started to burn, and suddenly the cold winter air started to feel like daggers, but I kept pushing. I felt hope as I saw my house. That's when the car stopped and the person actually got out to chase me off foot. Their footsteps got closer and closer and I ran out of energy faster and faster. But I used all my strength I had left and ran. My front door flew open as I threw myself through it. I slammed it and locked it and stared through the peephole. To my relief, the man swiftly walked away back to his car and sped off. I sat next to the door until my mom came down to ask what happened. After I explained it, the cops were called and they came to our house. One of the cops said, "Do you think he needed directions?" They weren't actually very helpful at all, and the man was never caught. I could only hope that the next kid is lucky enough to escape. So, I was 4 at the time, and my parents had just bought their first house. And from what I remember, my parents had a few friends over that day. They were grilling on the front porch and drinking like any other typical of 20-somethings. Meanwhile, I was out in the front yard playing in a small creek that ran through it. Now, this is kind of where the story starts. I remember a large, dark vehicle coming down the road and stopping in front of me. I was probably like 40 feet away from the road. They held up a picture and asked me if I'd seen their dog. Now, I know this might sound stupid, but I actually remember this very vividly. They mentioned me to come to the vehicle and look at the picture in the woman's hand. Now, fortunately, I misunderstood them and thought they were talking about my dog who was in the front yard playing with me. Now, when my parents realized what was going on, they luckily sped off. This all took place in like less than 30 seconds, and it kinda weirds me out to think about. This is probably also one of the earliest memories where I can actually remember an event. So this story gives me chills and is the sole reason why I'm terrified of using public bathrooms. I was at an indoor sports center with my family. My family and I were supposed to go and cheer on my brother who was playing soccer. I was sitting in the stands and told my mom I had to pee. She immediately grabbed my hand and was ready to go with me, but I told her I wanted to go alone. She quickly responded and said, "Are you sure?" with a surprised look on her face. This is an important detail because it highlights how young I was. I can't remember my exact age. However, I remember this was my first time asking to go to a public bathroom alone without my mom holding my hand, making sure I was okay. Anyway, this was a big step for me, and my mom trusted me and let me go without her. So here's the most creepy and traumatizing part of the story. I walk into the bathroom and it's extremely quiet considering there's nobody in close proximity. So quiet you could actually hear a pin drop. So there are 4 stalls and I immediately go into one of the stalls. I pull down my pants, sit on the toilet, and start to pee. Then I hear the slightest yet subtle noise. I know exactly where the noise is located. Directly above me. Immediately, I feel like something's off and that I'm not alone. I felt a wave of darkness rush through me. My head slowly looks up towards the noise and I see a man. The man is looking directly at me. He is in a vent that is directly above me / the toilet that I'm sitting on. However, the vent cover is completely removed. He's looking through an empty, square hole in the ceiling, and he probably removed it himself, making his view clearly visible. The man is looking down at me, no clear expression on his face, but he doesn't move. We lock eyes, then I look away from the man towards the door. Now there are 2 options that run through my child mind. 1, I don't see him. Maybe he will believe me if I act casual. 2, run. I decide to go with the option 1. I think to myself and say, okay, just act natural, it's gonna be okay, and remain calm. Then I think to myself, what the heck are you doing? Get out of there. Then I open the door and run for my life and get out of the bathroom and run down the empty hallways to get away. Regretfully, I did not tell my mom or anybody else about this incident. Once I got back to the soccer field, my mom asked me, how did it go? With so much excitement in her voice. I was in such a tremendous shock that the only thing I could respond was, good. My mom kissed me on my forehead and she was proud of me. Not telling anybody about this is hands down my biggest regret. The creep got away with watching me, unlikely many other girls and women. I should have told my mom, who would have contacted the police, who could have caught the creep. Maybe I was too young and immature to fully understand what happened. I don't know. This breaks my heart that I didn't tell a soul. So, creepy sir who traumatized a young innocent child, I hope we'll never meet again.